As far as I know, no film has ever made money.
It doesn't make money, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely
Yeah, it's
ridiculous because we
ridiculous.
know they do, and all these
Yeah.
companies exist because they do. So, blockchain allows everything to be transparent. So and again, it's got to be a fight because why would they want this to happen? So it's up
Yeah.
to the creators to be the pioneers of this and tap into a different community that's willing to support this. And break through. And once it breaks through, it's going to be a game changer in the same way that Netflix was.
Welcome back to Cool Hand Crypto, where cinema, culture, and crypto collide. My name is Matt Silverman, and please remember to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Today's guest is a veteran entertainer with over 90 credits on IMDb, including producer, director, and co-writer of Gold with Zac Efron, available in theaters and on demand now. You can also see him in The Light Between Oceans with Fassbender, War Machine with Brad Pitt, Animal Kingdom with Ben Mendelsohn, and Joel Edgerton, Cargo, The Rover, and many, many more. Here today to talk filmmaking and Web3 with his new blockbuster franchise, Retrogression. Anthony Hayes, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That was a good intro.
Thanks. I just watched Gold 2 nights ago. I loved it. And so I really have to start the show with this question. Was your goal with Gold to just fuck up Zac Efron's face as much as possible?
It's always a plus, isn't it? He's a handsome devil.
He's very handsome,
Yeah.
and the whole movie is among other things watching his face just degrade into a blistering, sun bloody mess of insanity.
Yeah, the strange thing about Efron too is that I did my very best to do that to him, and he still looked like a Hollywood star with sunburn all over.
Yeah, he still looked good. Yeah. I don't know. Right at the end there, I was, and I don't get grossed out easily, but right at the end, I was like, oh wow,
Yeah, he's still got
there.
those piercing blue eyes. His charisma's still shining through. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, but I think as soon as the white sort of blemishing heat blisters started coming out is when I really felt it.
Yeah, that's right. It was actually, it's one of the reasons he did the project too, is because obviously he's in a certain pocket, that's does a lot of kind of comedies and musicals and things like that, and he kind of made a big statement with the Ted Bundy movie that he did recently, and even with that, it kind of relied very heavily on his charm and his looks as an actor, because Ted Bundy was very charming and handsome, and so this was an opportunity, I think, for him to really dig in and do something completely different that he's never done before, and it certainly is when you see it.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So you said, how can I get the most charming, handsome actor in Hollywood and bring him into the middle of the desert and beat the hell out of him?
Pretty much. And it was like that. I mean, it was the shoot was brutal, man. It was full on. We were about 7 hours drive out from a major city out in the middle of nowhere. It was a disused mining town. So it used to be a coal mine that was out there. And so they have all this infrastructure in this place called Lee Creek, which is where it is, where there's all this housing that used to house 30 or 40,000 coal miners, and the mine has been discontinued over the last 15 years. So there's all this accommodation to shoot films and put crew up and that kind of stuff there. But there's only really a population now of about kind of 50 to 100 people in this place. But
Wow.
They had a little cinema there. So on our one day off that we had, we'd put on old John Carpenter movies and things like that, and
Nice.
all get
Love it.
together
Yeah.
in the air conditioning because it was so hot. But even the shoot was, and I'm talking Australian terms here, so people have to translate, but the ground temperature got up to 70 degrees Celsius on the ground, so it was melting shoes. Crew were fainting. We had 3 days of sandstorms that just would not stop, so we got 9 seconds of footage in a couple of days. And as you've seen it, there's a big sandstorm sequence that's actually written into the film. And so
it looks brutal.
Yeah, it looks brutal, and that's a real sandstorm. And when we originally, when we wrote it in there, we had organised to bring up all these tech guys, and we had these massive fans that were going to be on the sides of trucks and drive it next to him to kick up all this movie dirt. And then we were meant to be shooting other things, and we were just sitting there waiting for a gap in the sandstorm. And I was just like, dude, we're meant to shoot a sandstorm here. Here it is. Like, this is what you want, right? And they're like, oh, you can't get Zac Efron out in a real sandstorm. So I kind of snuck around the back and just knocked on his trailer and said, hey, dude, there's like a sandstorm going on here. What do you reckon? He goes, yeah, buddy, let's do it. So we got everyone together and it's like, okay, Zach's going to do it. We're all doing it. And cinematographer
Amazing.
threw the camera on his back, and we just kind of shot what originally would have taken a couple of days to shoot in a real sandstorm, and just went bananas with handheld, and it looks amazing.
Are the cameras destroyed?
One of the things was that particularly our steady cams, because the dirt was so fine out there, is that we went through about 3 different steady cams and all the dollies and equipment, the big insurance jobs on that at the end of the thing. So a lot of equipment got destroyed, even not just because of the sandstorm, just because of the dirt all the time. It was a very brutal shoot, and I've got to be very thankful to the crew for going through it, and to Zach, who spent his entire time not being an A-list actor, rolling around in the dirt without access to air conditioning and things, and really put in more effort than what you would expect from someone of that notoriety, let's say.
Yeah. No, amazing. How many days shoot was it?
It was very quick. It was 21 days originally, and then we lost a couple of days because of the sandstorm. So in effect, it was 19 days, which is super fast for a shoot. But having said that, it's predominantly one person in the desert, so it's not a lot of coverage you can really do there. What else are you going to shoot except for him? And very few elements, as you know, plays out on one patch of dirt for the majority of the film. There's only 2 other cast members in it. One of them's me. So very quick. The only issue that we had really was, you've seen the dog sequences that are in there, and the ground was too hot to shoot the dogs because of their paws and things like that. So we actually had to do extensive green screen dog shoots in post-production for that, which added quite a few days after the fact that we went down and do it. And that was probably the most challenging part of shooting the film, was the dog sequences, to make them feel integrated, because they weren't there on the day.
They felt like they're there. They look great and gnarly and fierce. I actually wanted to ask you about that, because what I love about the film is that it feels like a true film. And what I mean by that is it doesn't feel visual effects heavy. It feels like very cinematic. It feels very practical. It feels like you were there and shot everything. So other than the dogs, were there a lot of other visual effects?
It's mostly practical. There were elements, you're exactly right, because one of the key things with this is, when you're making a visual effects movie, it can look like a visual effects movie. When you're making essentially a kind of realistic portrayal of something, the visual effects have to be really well integrated. Otherwise, they just stick out like dog's balls, so to speak. And so the dogs were a very,
and you had dog balls.
We had a lot of dog balls, and so there was those elements. There were things that we added or removed from the landscape in terms of very Australian-looking trees, because, as you know, this is set in a time and a place that is nondescript. We don't know where it is. And so removing a lot of things, adding certain elements to the background of shots, particularly in the beginning sequence, building that little outpost that he comes to, and all that stuff is CGI in the background. And
cool.
Nice. Adding signage that was not there, which had different languages on there and things like that, so it felt very multicultural. So there's actually surprisingly quite a bit of VFX in there, but you don't realize it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of when I watch behind the scenes on Fincher, various David Fincher movies, and they're detective films, and they're in an office or they're on the street, and there's a ton of visual effects that you just don't realize are there. I think we could do a whole episode here just about your acting career, and so I want to touch on it, and then I want to jump into Web3 world. Sure. and hear about sort of your journey into it and why you're doing it. But I guess let's start with, how long have you been, you over 90 credits I saw on IMDb. You've been acting forever. It seems like all over the world. Is that right?
Yeah. In recent times, it's kind of, I started as a 9-year-old kid acting, and did a bunch of kids shows in Australia. I actually started doing TV commercials, and kids theatre was my beginnings, and it didn't ever really feel like something that you could do as a profession, particularly where I grew up. I grew up in a very, very working class place, about an hour out of Brisbane. And it wasn't something you did, and so I kind of got really lucky. I was kind of the freckle face, redheaded, typical Aussie kid. So I was able to integrate into ads pretty easily, to be that face. And I probably did, 27 ads in the space of, a couple of years as a, 10, 11-year-old. And then started
Amazing.
getting some acting gigs in kid shows. Then I did a soap, soap in Australia in my early teens, that only went for a year. And then it was really for me about getting out of that mold and getting into more serious things. And I had a few offers to go into other soap type TV shows, and just knew that that wasn't really the path I wanted. But it was about landing that first serious role that could put you in the space as a serious actor. And that was a film called The Boys, which I did in Australia, which had Tony Collette and David Wenham in it, and it was a really tough, gritty, very low budget film about three brothers that gang rape and murder a girl while they're on acid. And that was really my breakthrough as a performer, as a serious actor. And then I got nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the equivalent of the Australian Oscars and over here. And then things just kind of blossomed from there. A lot of, I'd call myself a bit of a journeyman in terms of acting. I'm a character actor, essentially. I've, very little lead roles through my career, but I'm peppered through every bloody film that Australia's ever made. And then things started to open up a little bit, working with certain directors like David Michaud in Animal Kingdom. And then he went on to make The Rover with Robert Pattinson, and so I was in that.
Right.
And then he went on to make War Machine with Brad Pitt, so he took me along for the ride. And then once those things started happening, then you get a bit of attention. And Derek C in France for The Light Between Oceans, and I'm shooting a film at the moment now, which I'm under an NDA, so I can't say what it is, but it's a $100 million film. So it's a slow burn, a slow process to get there, and there's ups and downs as there is with any kind of freelance work, I guess. But it's really for me about working with great people, and trying to carve a path out with your performances and with your jobs that is interesting and of quality. That's really what it's about for me.
Yeah. Well, I think journeyman actors and character actors are my favorite kind of actor and my favorite kind of talent. Everything I've seen of yours has been awesome. So
Thank
it's really a pleasure talking to you right now. I'm curious, how did you get into Web3, and how do you balance sort of the sort of ethos of Web3, which is sort of anti-Hollywood in a lot of ways?
The ethos is the reason I got into it. The best way to explain it is that the creators of content are never rewarded for the creation of their content. There's always a slew of middlemen that are in any creative process, financiers and sales agents and things like that, which are I wouldn't call them an evil, but a necessary evil in the process. But there is a way, I think, now with blockchain to streamline direct from creator to audience, and blockchain has given that opportunity. And so the fire in my belly is really about, seeing the way filmmakers has been treated, and the way the system works. And for anyone who doesn't know, and, people on your podcast probably do, for every dollar a film makes at the cinema, then 60 cents goes to the cinema chain. Then of the other 40 cents, then 50% of that goes to the distributor in that territory. Then after that, 33% of that goes to the sales agents. Then after that, you've banked all your pre-sales, and then you got to go and get a loan on all those pre-sales, because you don't get that money up front. That comes after you deliver the film. So then you got to go to a financial institution, you got to borrow all that money, you got to pay exorbitant fees, financing fees, as well as interest rates on that before you pay it back. And so by the time you dilute that process, every other person apart from the creator is making a ton of money. And even with, my film goals, it's like, we're at a point now where the film's turned over X amount of $1 million, and none of it yet has come to me. I'm the last person on the the list to receive any kind of fiscal returns for that.
That's just crazy.
And it's the
Yeah.
way the system's engineered, and it's the same. It's the same in the music industry. People like Kanye West have been posting, music contract excerpts that are the same. It's set up the same way. It all favors distribution and management, and all these people in the middle. And he's worked out a way to take his new album direct to audience through a particular device that he's done. We've seen
Right.
Radiohead in the UK that have done, releasing albums on their website, pay what you want, which,
Yep.
bizarrely rewards them more financially when people pay $2 than when they pay $40 for an album. That's just the way the
Yep.
system's set up. And so when Netflix came out, it was a real game changer in terms of the film financing model. And it meant that you could go direct to a distributor, essentially, or a platform, and you could take the budget of your film with your fees included. You could then do a one-off deal with those guys where they pay a premium on top of what it costs to make the film. So say your budget's 10 million, they give you 12. As a filmmaker, you're able to then pocket that premium straight off the bat, and have proper returns from your creations. But even Netflix, the issue with that is that it is a one-stop shop, and it's selling your property in perpetuity to one place. So there is no more revenue stream that is ever generated from that creation. They own it forever.
Yep.
And the lifespan of a film making money can be 25 to 30 years. It's just that never filters down to the creators. So you're left with a choice as a filmmaker. You go, do I take a risk on this horrible waterfall that exists in the recoupment process of filmmaking, and hope that my film does 7 times its budget to start seeing a cent out of it, or do I just sell it up front forever? And so a lot of people flock to Netflix for that very reason. Big people, Scorsese, all those guys, where they just go, I want to get paid. I want to get paid. I want to go there. The reason blockchain came into the equation for me was just looking at NFTs, and the way NFTs were a piece of art that had a royalty built into the blockchain that went directly back to the artist or the creator of that NFT in perpetuity. No matter how many times that property changed hands on the blockchain, there was a revenue stream that was coming direct. And so there had to be another model out there that was incorporating blockchain. And like you said, this is anti-Hollywood, because the studios don't want this to happen, because it makes them redundant. The sales agents don't want it to happen. They become redundant. Nobody wants this to happen apart from the creators. And so filmmakers have been trying to find ways to streamline that direct to audience path. But in terms of blockchain, it's always been a bit of an afterthought at the moment. No one's fully integrated it. So, projects may launch a series of NFTs after they make a film, which actually have no utility. There's no community that exists that has been built along with this thing. So, I invented Retrogression as an entertainment ecosystem, essentially, that built from the ground up a crypto community that would support this project. And then every utility that we roll out within that ecosystem then pays back that community as well, and moves the chart and rewards people for supporting the film. And so what we see with this ecosystem is we raise the money for the film, for my next film project, which is a sci-fi trilogy, and the buy and sell taxes go into a wallet to finance the film. And that just means that you're higher up in the waterfall as a creator. You're able to raise the finance yourself without relying on financial institutions and what have you. Being able to directly sell to particular markets or put it on a place yourself, and it's already more in profit. And then you're able to take that profit and then use that to buy back the chart of the token itself, and then redistribute that profit to the community. So it's another way. It's essentially a crowdfunding mechanism with a reward scheme for the people who enter it. So it's revolutionary, and it is the way it's going to head. And I can see film going even further than that, where there's a lot of dodgy accounting practices that go on with with films. that you're
As
on.
far as I know, no film has ever made money.
It doesn't make money, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely
Yeah, it's
ridiculous because we
ridiculous.
know they do, and all these
Yeah.
companies exist because they do. So, blockchain allows everything to be transparent. So and again, it's got to be a fight because why would they want this to happen? So it's up
Yeah.
to the creators to be the pioneers of this and tap into a different community that's willing to support this and break through. And once it breaks through, it's going to be a game changer in the same way that Netflix was.
100%. I think, when I started this show, it was the sense I was getting was the same feeling I got when I was in LA in 2007 and YouTube was just starting. And I was like, and people were kind of dabbling with it and, oh, this is going to be big. And we weren't really sure how it was going to be monetized and how it was going to work and what was going to happen. But with this, I get almost a sense of 90s filmmaking, this idea of this independent spirit that has kind of disappeared in Hollywood, at least. It's disappeared. And I feel like there could be a major resurgence through blockchain, through Web3 platforms like yours, to make just incredible original IP, independent cinema.
I think you're spot on with that. The word is original IP because everything that is out there at the moment, it's rehashing something else. It's a remake. It's a franchise. It's I miss the days in the 90s, exactly what you're talking about, where you could see Tom Hanks do a drama or any of these actors do these films that were original stories and the creation of these original stories and now it's really just repackaging the same thing and of course that has its place. I'm the first person to go
of course
to
yes
the latest rendering of a Marvel movie, but
likewise
I love it, but it is at the expense of independent filmmaking at the moment. And the way it's set up is it's very difficult to be an independent filmmaker and to find that finance outside that system now because there's no room left on the cinemas for it.
It's near impossible, and it seems strange because there's so many avenues to make films and so many different ways to make films, and yet it seems increasingly difficult to get anything original done and not get even on TikTok. I'm very much addicted to TikTok. And it seems that all of the film people on TikTok are really only referring to Marvel.
Yeah.
And I love Marvel, but the whole entire film industry to TikTok is Marvel. There doesn't seem to exist much else outside of that. And that's a problem.
It is a problem, and cutting through that is a major problem. If you do, even Gold is, it takes someone of the status of Zac Efron to cut through in the independent world, and there isn't a lot of independent filmmakers out there that will have access to those sort of actors, and so that makes it incredibly difficult. It means that you do need an A-list actor that's willing to reduce their usual studio fees to come on board, a more inexperienced director than what they're used to do away with all their creature comforts that they're used to on everything and want to get down and dirty in the desert and do things the indie way. And that's rare, and I'm a very lucky filmmaker to have had that experience. And so it's difficult. And so for films to even find the backing from the distributors once they pick it up, you find that most of them are just an intermediate between dumping it on a streaming platform. So you will get picked up by a distributor, and the first thing they're looking to do is just go, well, who can I sell it to, and where can I dump it, and just make my profit and get out of there. So Gold was unique in this landscape in that it did sell to every different territory and has a life in every different territory, but still the same waterfall exists in that process. But it was an achievement in a sense, just in terms of it not being just dumped straight to a streamer, which is great.
Did you feel very confident and comfortable in the director's chair and being in front of the camera because you've been on so many sets?
I had acted and directed in some shorter projects I did a long time ago. I mean, I'm always quite confident as an actor in terms of performance, but looking back on that experience, the hardest thing for me was to be able to drop into character, into my accent, at the drop of a hat because you've got so many other things on your mind. And so it was tough to, find myself doing scenes, and then all of a sudden they go, okay, you're up next for this thing.
Yeah.
Go, oh shit, right, okay, so yeah, now I got to get my head into that. And so it was, I think the challenge is creating a character with the nuances that I'm used to being able to do when my focus is purely on one thing was probably the challenge. I'm not sure it's something I want to do again, but the I was kind of perfect for that role. I got to grow my...
I was gonna say you did it flawlessly.
Yeah,
So if you it didn't show if there was any struggle there.
Yeah, I got to embody that guy, and it's kind of right.
You were a perfect dirtbag.
Perfect arsehole. Yeah, that's me basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And, the opportunity to work alongside Zach too was a draw card. So
oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But maybe moving forward, I'll probably separate the two. And I also knew going into it that my character in that film was in the beginning of the film and the end, and was absent for a long time. So there was a lot of period and a lot of days where I wasn't having to act in it. So that gave me a bit more confidence.
Can you talk a little bit about Retrogression, the story? What is Retrogression? And then we'll kind of dig into the different facets of it.
Yeah, because it's quite hard to get your head around because it's such a big ecosystem. So it is a good place to start. So Retrogression is a 3-part sci-fi trilogy. And the first installment has been written by myself and Daniel Krieger, who had a film called West in Berlin Film Festival a few years ago. And it's essentially set 350 years in the future. We've been decimated by global warming, the seas have risen, and we're existing as a global community on these floating cities that are chained to the seabeds. And the main protagonist is a guy called Ben Hammond, who works on blockchain as a security expert, and he invents this system called the REP system that rewards people according to their carbon footprint. So all currencies in the future have been discontinued, and everyone is running on the RTGN token, which is actually our crypto token as well. And so he invents a system where the more carbon neutral or carbon friendly you are, the more you're rewarded as a society member for contributing to lowering emissions. But then there's a terrorist attack on a military base on another floating island, and the main security coder there has been murdered. And so he's sent over to this other island to basically fix the system. And when he gets there, he realizes that his tracking system has been repurposed to control the citizens in essentially a slave labor in some soil dredging fields, and also in the factories that are producing all the green energy products, so the washing machines and the vacuum cleaners and all this consumer goods that we buy. And essentially the government has played on our fears of devastating climate catastrophe, and then flipped that into consumerism to service the 1% and to service the wealthiest floating cities. And so he gets there and realizes that these cities are basically all slaves. They're all part of a system where they're followed by these floating orbs, which are these robotic kind of killing machines that are attached to a Palm Pilot that is embedded in everyone's wrist. And so they are told where to go, when to go, at what time, and it's every day for the rest of their lives. And they're working in these factories. And when he realizes that's the case, and he finds out deeper that they're not in fact terrorists that blew it up, that they're freedom fighters, he then has to escape the military compound into the slums and find his way to the leader of the resistance to then take down the system that he helped create and liberate mankind. And so that's the first installment of the sci-fi.
I love it.
trilogy,
I love it.
And it's a really cool one. Obviously sci-fi, is always heavily theme related about where we are in terms of humanity and where we're heading and the warning signs. And so it's kind of an extension on Gold and a more, a bigger production in terms of that. So that's the first installment.
So where in the development process is the first installment?
Yeah. So part of that is, so we've written the first screenplay and that exists. And so the reason we invented this ecosystem, talking about this finance system, is that we launched a token called the RTGN token. and the buy-sell taxes when people buy or sell that token goes into an ERC20 compatible wallet, which then finances the film. And so, as filmmakers, we then are bringing the finance to the table through the crypto community. The crypto community essentially own a piece of that film. We're able to then cut out a lot of the middlemen in the process and streamline the financing process, put ourselves higher up into the waterfall by bringing the finance and not having to rely on institutions to finance those things. And so when the profit of the film comes in, it comes in via us. We use that to buy back the token, which creates growth on the chart, and then distribute that profit to the holders of the tokens so that everyone benefits from the proceeds of the film. And so to talk a little bit about the ecosystem, because and you know about it because you've kind of read up on it a bit. We launched with our first utility, which is an emerging filmmakers crib, and that crib's called the Retrogression Film Crib, and that is populated with a whole slew of hand-curated short films from emerging filmmakers around the world, and we're just about to drop another, I think, 8 Academy Award films on there, so there'll be a total of 12 Academy Award short films. There's Cannes Palme d'Or winners, there's Berlin Bear winners, there's sci-fi, there's all this great short film content. And so what we do as part of the ecosystem is the filmmakers come and they upload their film to the platform, and then they enter their ERC20 compatible wallet, and then they're rewarded per streams with our token. So the more streams they are, then the more they earn our RTGN token, and that also grows the project and the amount of holders that are there. And then to incentivize the community with that utility, we actually reward people for watching the content as well. So it's a view to earn with the RTGN token. And so bringing a community in and rewarding them, bringing the filmmakers to and rewarding them at the same time creates a great ecosystem of growth. And then we're able to sell advertising revenue on that platform that then generates income for the project to finance the film, to finance utility, to then buy back the chart and then redistribute that and give larger payouts to the community as well. So it's an entire ecosystem that's built to reward creators, reward people that are engaging, and it's a great platform. It's really slick. It's I love the films that are on there, and so any filmmaker that has a film can upload it. There's you can just register and upload, and we can help you on the back end if you're not crypto savvy. And that was another reason is one of the mottos for our project is it takes 1,000 steps to get to one step. And so, part of the crypto community, which is the most difficult aspect of it, is that they're a very ravenous community. They need things now and they need things yesterday. And so, for instance, we launch a token and we drop an amazing utility, and then the very next day it's so what's next? And these things, take time to implement. And so the biggest challenge is with the communities just tempering their expectations and letting them know that we're a long-term prospect and that we're a big ecosystem that we're building, and so rewarding them along the way is really important in that ecosystem. And so we're going to build out that platform as well as we're bringing in a guy called Anthony O'Connor who's interviewed Tarantino and Peter Jackson and all these great filmmakers. And he will then host Q&As with all the filmmakers that are on the platform.
Fantastic.
Their journeys, how they made their short, how they financed it, what the problems were.
Beautiful,
And so it becomes a great resource for emerging filmmakers as well. And it's important that it's not just great for people to watch it, but it becomes a tool. And so eventually it'll be a platform. We'll be starting those Q&As very shortly, and it'll probably kick off with me talking about gold and things like that in the ecosystem. And I'll bring on actors on there that can talk about, or people like Tom Savini, who you probably know, like the Godfather,
of course,
to talk about the days of the horror golden era and prosthetic makeup, and really just bring a whole cult film community to this platform so that these filmmakers get more views and they start to be able to finance their next shorts, or we build relationships with these filmmakers so that, in years to come, we open our ecosystem up to be a DAO studio, after we've made our films, and we can bring those feature projects from those people that are on the crib that we've supported, and then get the community to get behind those and finance those films for those filmmakers and build it out into an indie platform that then rewards filmmakers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of long-term goals in terms of the project, and it's 1,000 steps to get there, but the first step is getting a good community that engages with that utility.
Can you talk about how you're building that community,
Yeah.
the various tools you're using and the tactics you're using to get people not just to show up, but to stay? I think I found you. I somehow stumbled into your Telegram
Oh,
group, and it was buzzing. It was buzzing, which
yeah.
is exactly what you want to see in a community like this.
Yeah.
And I think I shot out something like, I don't even know if the director is here, but if he is,
That's right.
please, let's talk. And very quickly you were responding, and I was like, this is a very cool community, a very active community, and you can tell that the people in charge care.
Yeah.
Before I even knew what it was about. So how are you building that? What are the tools, and how are you building and maintaining that?
Yeah, it's a really difficult process, actually. It's one of the things is that eventually I need to step back from that community to really focus on things, because as part of the eco, and we'll talk about this later, is a play to earn game, NFT game with a gaming partnership. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it was really important for me to be present in the community, and to the first strategy was for me to do an AMA tour among all the Telegram channels. And so Telegram's a very good resource for crypto projects to use influencers that were in that channel to create the buzz, to raise our pre-sale. We did it on the Unicrypt platform and did an official partnership with them, where we had to order our contract and KYC and all those kind of things, and make sure that everything was hunky-dory and safe, to give the community confidence going forward, because there's a lot of rugs in crypto. A lot of people build things up and disappear.
Yeah.
So my face is all over the place, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm making this film. So so the first thing was a lot of AMAs, just to get the word out there, and that was very helpful in hitting our 200 ETH hard cap on launch, and a good launch. And then it's a funny thing, because in that space there are actually a lot of botted channels, and a lot of difficulty in finding real influencers with real influence, as it were. And so you can spend an awful lot of your capital on calls in these channels, and letting people know that don't necessarily have the impact that you need on the chart or on the community growing. And so it really is a process of elimination. We spent a lot on launch, and then we worked out with our data about who actually works and who doesn't. And some of these channels that have 1 million viewers, people will come into our channel and go, "You got to get this guy to do something," but they're completely they're botted. They're a million. You can buy subscribers, and so you have to look at the interaction of these pages, and whether the comments are real or whether they're not real, and all those kind of things. So it's a slow process. It's an organic grassroots process. And so we brought in a grassroots media manager onto the team from another token, and he's helping us navigate through that. And so it's just really about being present. We've got our Telegram channels, we've got our Twitter channels, we've got our Crib channel, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got Discord. And so you have all these communities in there that you just slowly build over time by being present in the space. We've just launched our NFT treasure hunt a couple of days ago, which is this wild crypto trip all the way through the internet that's film related, where you win free NFTs if you solve these puzzles, and it's all narrative driven. So you go through and you actually learn about the story of the film and the characters, and the NFTs are based on these characters. So it's really about bringing things to the table that are part of an entertainment that engage people, because there's so many meme tokens out there, and so many tokens that don't have real utility. And what's important is just making this thing engaging. And so if you're going to bring film and crypto together, you want to be story driven, you want to be narrative driven, you want to put that through all of your things. So that we've just seen, even in the last couple of days with our rollout of our crypto puzzle, people are active in all our channels just going, I can't solve it, and the community starts coming together and we're dropping clues everywhere. And so that's really what it's about with a crypto platform, is just making sure that there's always something for the community to engage with. And then outside of the crypto community, it's about, and there's other things too, like, we put out press releases on NASDAQ and Yahoo Finance and, Bloomberg and all those kind of things, which are the, bringing in a different type of investor, announcements of gaming partnerships, and then using their communities as well to bring communities together. That's really
amazing.
In the crypto space. It's a lot of work. It's a hell of a lot of work to keep an active community going. And they're all the strategies that you use. And then on the film side, we've engaged a Hollywood publicist that I've worked with before to put out press releases about the crib specifically. That's less to do with the ecosystem and more just targeting filmmakers to bring them to the platform to upload.
Where do those press releases go? Where are they published?
Yeah, well, they get published all around the net. They're published on, bloggers. They've got an extensive list of film bloggers and things like that, and it's all organic. And eventually to get those things on the Hollywood Reporter and things like that. Once we've got some more engagement level, I think we're about to hit in 2 weeks 100,000 views on the platform, which is just organic growth, which is fantastic. And then we've just started other strategies too, which is, targeted marketing on YouTube and, to draw people to the platform. And then you got to work on those metrics as well to work out what works and refine those over time. And so there's a lot of different strategies that you do to build it up, and you've got to work out the most cost-effective way to do that at the same time. It's multi-pronged.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're building a project ourselves, and we're discussing marketing right now. And we have a little budget, but not a big budget. These are the things we're thinking about. We're thinking about, do we spend on YouTube ads? Do we spend on Twitter ads or this ads? And we've actually made a policy that we're not gonna pay creators, because we're really interested in building a community. So we want that grassroots, organic, be people who believe in it. And then we're going to donate to a film fund for in the people's name who becomes a part of it. So we're really trying to build that community part of it, as opposed to, but it's as you're saying, it's so multi-pronged. It's so difficult to follow the analytics and follow what's working and what's not. And and I have 2 small children, so it's really a nightmare.
Yeah, so do I. And in crypto, the time zones as well. Most of my AMAs are at 6 a.m. hidden in the laundry away from my children. Before they wake up.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So it's all I can say is that it's constant refinement and testing, to work out where the people come from, and like you say, you could blow $100,000 in 2 days on the wrong
easily.
thing. Easily.
Yeah.
So you really have to be cognizant of that, and you need to also block out the noise in the channel. Like I said before, is that it's a very ravenous community, the crypto community. Things are launching every minute of every day, and people are used to this very unnatural, times 10 in 5 minutes, and then it dumps and people rug and it's out of there. And so people get addicted to the dopamine hit of that as well. Just actually going, it's a times 10 quickly. And, most people get burnt on those things, but they're addicted to it. And so to be a long-term prospect and to find your audience and find your core supporters is a very long process. And so you do need to block out the FUD and the noise in the channels and just get on with building your ecosystem and your community. And they come day by day. 2 more people, 5 more people, 10 more people, but it's really about having, expanding your core team as well, and bringing in other people and engaging with other communities. Like, for instance, you start your project and we start integrating in a meaningful way that brings our communities together because they're like-minded communities.
Absolutely.
That's how to best build strong communities in crypto, but it takes time.
So play to earn gaming.
Yeah. So
tell me about that.
So, the idea with the to step back a bit, the idea with the script was to properly integrate crypto into the screenplay. It's always a bit of an afterthought when film and crypto try and tie, and so we have these things that are built into the film, Easter eggs, as it were, for people of our age that used to watch DVDs. That's a term we us oldies know. There's a lot of Easter eggs that's.
If you don't know what a DVD is and you're listening to this, you need to go research what a DVD is.
You
and then
probably
come back.
are crypto savvy, so that's,
yeah,
you're the right demographic for the crypto element. But so the screenplay is designed to have a lot of things in it that can be rolled out and capitalized on in the crypto space. So, for instance, like I told the story of the film, the whole world is based on the RTGN token. He works on the blockchain. There's all these references to it, but real integration is what you want. So, for instance, one of the characters is obsessed with virtual horse racing in the screen, and so within our main game, in our gaming ecosystem, there'll be a mini game, which is a virtual horse racing game. In the future, there's the National Basketball League or the World Basketball League are all virtual athletes in the future. So that appears in a television, and then that becomes a mini game where you can go and play as those characters that are in the movie, and you can collect the NFT collector cards of all those players and earn RTGN token from that as a mini game. So there's all this integration that's in the. You could watch the film outside of crypto, and it would completely just be a movie in its own right. But if you're into crypto, then it's there's a lot of stuff in there that we roll out. And so we've been working for the last 5 months with a partner, and we're not allowed to do the announcement just yet. We're still on the legal aspect of it, but it's pretty soon, and we're working with them anyway, regardless of that, on all the original assets for the game, and it'll be built on Unreal Engine, which is absolutely amazing. Yep. It looks incredible. So at the moment, we're at the stages we're developing those initial assets that will become part of that play to earn game experience, and it'll be NFT based, so that it's based on the story of the film. It's an experiential game that takes you through the worlds of the film. As I said, there's the uber kind of green futuristic cities, then there's the slums, and there's a military base, and so we have all these great 3D Unreal Engine rendered worlds that Ben Hammond takes you through, and then you will collect NFTs along the way that the rare ones can unlock another level of the game and another experience. So if you're lucky enough to be playing in and generate one of those NFTs, then you will get access to that level. But then you're able to play that level and then sell that NFT on the secondary market to someone else, make some profit from it, and then someone else can play that level of the game. So it's important with NFTs to, not only are they art-based, but they have to have a function and a utility as well. And so all the NFTs that we're developing, all the assets that we develop for the game, are assets that will be in the game. They're also NFTs, so you can own a part of the game. And part of that partnership is a metaverse that they've launched, and so we're as a official friend of the metaverse, we will have our own world on that metaverse, and be part there with some really huge corporate companies as well that are part of that. And so you will play our game on their metaverse. These guys develop the game for us. You're able to store your NFTs on that metaverse, and so it's a really huge partnership that we're really excited about rolling out. And of course, they've got a huge community because of their NFT based game that's been out for many years now, and so that's going to be really important for us going forward as well. But always story driven. A game based on the film. And the great thing is with this is, I think as a filmmaker, the thing I love the most of all is coming up with an idea, and then the trials and tribulations of getting that to the screen is both frustrating and incredibly rewarding. And by creating an ecosystem that has a community there from the beginning, I hope that community is able to feel that experience with us as well, and really feel what it's like to get something to that stage, because there's nothing better than seeing the final rendering of all your hard work go out all around the world. Yeah, it's an incredible feeling, and for people to be part of that. And even some of our NFTs are rare ones, are executive producer credits in the film and things like that people can get. So there's a bit of Hollywood razzle dazzle in there as well. Visits to the set, things like that. So, you know, it's great integration.
Do you have to navigate the sort of securities issue that we're having to navigate with our company being in the US and making sure that we are not a security? And if we are a security, then declaring we are a security. And we can do that, but we've opted not to. And
Yeah.
so we just need to be sort of careful how we navigate. And we're not trying to be a security in any way.
Yeah.
Do you have to deal with similar things with retrogression?
Yeah, you do, and it's about it's about where your company is based, essentially. You know, where it's based, whether it's Australia or the US. There are different laws that are associated with that. You know, a lot of companies that are based out of the Cayman Islands or things like that. So you really do need to, you know, if you're going to do this properly, engage with a good legal team to make sure that that part of it is sewn up. There are, you know, there are even certain things that you can't say, which I'm probably, even at this stage, not even knowledgeable enough on at the moment. But you know, it's a process of learning that too. And you know, the lawyers will be the first to admit that it's a learning process for them, because we're talking about a space that is emerging, and we're talking about legislation that is constantly being updated and
Rapidly
changed to try
changing,
and
yeah.
match it. And so it's an ongoing process of what you can and can't do in different territories around the world. So it's yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it is something you have to be mindful of if you're going to be a long-term project, for sure.
I'm cognizant of your time, so we'll wrap up shortly. How do you deal with the democratization of it all, where you are a filmmaker, you're a director, you're a visionary, you have a vision, but you want to include the community and you want them to be active and make decisions along the way. So how do you balance those two things?
Yeah, it is a balance, because you know, anyone who's a filmmaker knows that you can't just have a script open. You can't have an open script that is constantly changing. I mean, you need to budget these things to the T. I mean, these budgets are 150 pages long. So there comes a point where you can't have any more engagement in that process. You need to lock that down. So the film exists as a film. That was always the thing going forward, is that this is what the screenplay is. To craft a screenplay is a very delicate process. You know, too many cooks in that process can spoil the broth, as they say. And it is a craft, and it has to be treated as a craft. So, you know, you can't just open that up. The quality of it will suffer. But what you can do is in terms of the gaming experience, you know, we're able to, because that game is an experiential game and it keeps evolving and more levels get created, what we're able to do is see what the community engages with in terms of character and story, and use those characters to drive into other levels. So, for instance, you know, the Star Wars movie exists as its own thing. It is what it is. It's set in stone. But along the way, people have gone, Boba Fett's my favourite character. And so the Boba Fett figurine becomes the most sought after figurine in the entire thing. He's got his own TV show now. The Mandalorian becomes a popular character, and so now that's a character. Then Grogu has become one of the most famous characters out of that thing. It's like it's this organic beast that you have the fundamental core of it, which is what the film is, and then it's really driven by community in Star Wars too. It's really driven by engagement and popularity and listening to what people want, and into what they're consuming. And so part of that game experience is we start with Ben Hammond. He goes through, you meet certain characters, and we're able to engage on the back end of all our systems about what are the most popular things. When we release our NFTs, as they're all based on different characters, we'll know which characters are the most popular then, and then able to build levels of the game that then deviate into that character and their world, and then subplots within that, and other characters they meet. So the game is a very different beast to the film. It starts off as the film, as the narrative and the protagonist, but it has room to really engage the community. So we always saw those as two separate things. One was heavily community driven, and one was what it is. It's the film. And then the film crib also has community engagement, where we on the back end we know which films are popular. We as we grow, we know which AMAs are popular, which live streams are popular, which functions on the website are the most used, and so you then engage the community with that. So there is community engagement, but as you say, you also as a long-term project need to be 4 or 5 months ahead in development. So that's the tricky thing, is you can't just go, what do the community want, and then expect to deliver that next week. Not when you're a real utility. So yeah, it's a difficult process. I think what you have to do as a project is go, these are our core things that we're building off. This one cannot be changed. This one is organic. It still takes time. This one is organic. It still takes time, and then work out the best way forward as you grow with the community.
I still think you'll end up doing TV shows of the most popular game characters.
Well, that's right. It really is endless, isn't it? I mean, we're an entertainment ecosystem, and that's, you've got to start somewhere. It goes back to the ethos, to the mantra that I said before, is 1,000 steps to another step, and that's really about that. Is just going where this can lead is endless, and that's why you need to keep bringing in the great core members. When you make a film and you're in, everyone's seen the credits of a movie, there's 400 people there. Your job as a producer or a filmmaker is to bring all these people together who are the best at what they do. You don't necessarily know how to shoot a movie. I don't know how to run an ARRI. That's not what I do, but I bring the cinematographer who does know, and you go through the process with them, and you surround yourself with people that know more than you, so that you can grow as a filmmaker. And it's no different in the crypto space. It's about seeing where the project is heading, and then going, so who do we need to engage now to bring into the team to make that happen? Who are the experts in that field? And so you find even you start off with a core team of 2 or 3. And we're already, at 50 people, so it's
amazing.
It'll keep building.
Well, I love what you're building. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of the project, and I want to help in any way I can. And where can people find you, and where can people find Retrogression, and how can they support and get involved? Yeah,
sure. So you can find me on Twitter. I've got a verified Twitter account @TheAnthonyHayes, so you can hit me up there. Our website is retrogression.io. And that will take you through the whole ecosystem, but then it can also link you to the Film Crib if you're just interested in that part of it. We're on Telegram as RTGN Universe. Be very careful, because there's a lot of scams out there with different channels, so that's the official one. The team's always around. We have mods and admins as well that can help you, but Discord, Facebook, all of the social medias were there. And you can buy the token on Uniswap at the moment if you want to invest in the project. You can go there onto Uniswap and buy the token now. There's also staking that we have set up, which I didn't mention. So you can buy the token, you can put it in one of our staking pools on the Unicrypt platform, and you can earn passive income in the form of RTGN tokens there while you wait for us to roll out utilities and build it. So, I would say if you're into the ethos, if you're a filmmaker, and you want to get your work out there, I'd say head to the crib, get your films up there, get your work seen, get the views, start earning some income for your next projects. If you're into crypto and supporting that community, then do that. It's really open to what you're into, and aimed at both things. So
thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.